Hey, welcome to Know a Guy Bicycles. Yes, if it's Tuesday, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. And welcome to my garage shop. Got a whole bunch of little things going on and going to be talking about quite a few bits. And if you hear a little bit of background noise, I do apologize. I'm running my ultrasonic cleaner, and that alludes into the third topic I'm going to talk about, which is cleaning chains for waxing and doing some wax process on that. So, hey, welcome to another installment of As the Wheel Turns, So Do the Days of Ride, Shop Talk Tuesday. As a soap opera will always continue to go on and on and on. But in any case, so we'll talk about the last video about bike shops that launched last Sunday. So if you get a chance, go back to that and watch that. If you're watching this on replay, thank you for doing so. And hopefully you get some insightful information about the industry as well as bikes and everything else in between. This is a community here, so if you're watching this on replay, please throw some comments below if you have any questions. If you're watching this live, feel free to throw in some chat questions or talk amongst yourselves, what have you. There's several people do chime in and that kind of thing, and this is more of a safe space for bike people and bike mechanics. Yes, and bike shop people. So if you're listening to this in your shop, give me a thumbs up. So I like to talk to shop people because, you know, it takes us to make the world go around, right? Any case, a couple big topics have been hitting in the industry news. Yeah, it's just a never-ending roller coaster as we're kind of seeing, leading into and alluding to March here in Colorado, which are in the northern hemisphere, which is the cuspis of our spring and our spring season. So we've had some nicer days. It's sparked some people to get into riding and so forth. So far, the weather patterns are in line of having nicer weekends, which gets people out there and riding. Which, case in point, had a little nice ride with my daughter last Saturday, or was it Sunday? Any case, we had a good long ride with the trail bike, and that just a ton of people out there. So people are itching to get outdoors, and with that being said, they're going to find their bikes maybe needing some work and service, and there alludes to our topic of bike shops, right? Therefore, that's what we're looking into. And the reason why I keep looking back is I can't see the chat on my camera phone, so I have to look back at a glance to make sure I'm not missing anything that you guys are jibber-jabbering. Alrighty, so this bright orange eye retina burning thing, I haven't turned on the lights yet because, you know, as a bike shop in a garage, I popped a circuit breaker quite often when I run the ultrasonic cleaner and the waxer, so I will be turning on the lights here as soon as that thing done running within a minute. So we'll get a little better eye burning retina eyeful of this Nova Special from Serrotta, however you may say it. It's been around for several decades. Yeah, the company itself is known for made in the United States frames, one, and second, they were known for their titaniums. I believe this is a steel frame. This has Ultegra, nope, take that back. This has Shimano 600, which was the triple color, which like green, blue, and like dark navy blue little color pattern on it. That was known for several years until they revamped the line and called it Ultegra back in the early 90s. So puts you back in that kind of componentry. If it looks like it's vintage, like it's OEM on a lot of bikes, will kind of really help you identify the year of those bikes sometimes, which is really nice. This one is pretty much a full kit. The hubs, the front, rear derailleur, the crankset, even the little shifters here. They are what they call, you know, Shimano 600. So that's where the group kits back then actually was the full kit, including the brakes. On these though, when you do clean them, you want to be very careful, light and polite, because the triple color sticker on them will come off pretty easily in ultrasonic cleaners. So the parts here, I'm going to go really light and polite. If you do use ultrasonic cleaner, don't use it at the high 50 Celsius or the higher temperature. Do it at like room temperature water and maybe just water itself. I'm probably going to hand wash these since they're pretty immaculate shape, and I don't want to just take away any of those stickers. So that's one thing with the ultrasonic cleaner you got to kind of watch out for. And like it'll change the coloring, like the finishing on some parts from bikes, well, from Shimano specifically. They'll have a coating on there. Like the 6500 series, like the derailleurs would have, I mean, they're polished aluminum, but they have a plastic coating on top of it. And if you really cook it in ultrasonic cleaner, that plastic will look like a real wrinkled up skin, and you just wipe it right off. I've taken a lot of those and just went over and just went ahead and just got rid of all of that. And you still have the polish underneath, but you just don't have that protected layer of oxidation over a long period of time with aluminum. So it's good to put some ceramic coating or something, or a good polish on top of those parts when you're cleaning them, if you do lose that plastic bit piece there. So, hey, Joe. Hope the weather in your neck of the woods is warmer. I know your paddle season's coming up. Hopefully it's coming up. And yeah, hopefully you're getting some more rides. I hope the warmth is reaching you from the front part of the Rockies here. Hey, Joe, are you on the, I know the Rockies go up into Canada. If you're not familiar with the Rocky Mountains, are you more in the mid-range of the Rockies, west of them, east of them? Where are you located in there in Canada? I think I looked it up once, but I was not quite sure. It looked cold in your videos, like brutally toe-losing ice cold. In any case, yeah, chime in when you get a chance. Thank you for joining me. And if you're just joining me now, this is Shop Talk Tuesday, and we're talking about first the Serrotta and Batavus is another one. That's a class one. I got a little information more on that frame. We'll talk about that. Some of the people have seen the videos the last couple of weeks or week or so, and you saw that frame or the bike in the background. And I got a little more information about it from the original owner. I'm cleaning it up for him so you can actually sell it. So. And I guarantee you, my coffee is just coffee. There's nothing else in there. That's when you're old like me, you can't spike things because it ruins your day. And I have a day that needs to be very productive. So I'm going to turn on the lights here, since my ultrasonic cleaner is dimly turned off, so I don't pop a breaker. Okay, there. Now let me actually turn it off so the heating element doesn't sit there and run. Like anything in the shop of electronics and so forth, if you're running ultrasonic cleaners and all that, put them on breaker switches you can, or make sure you unplug them at night, that kind of thing. You don't want to burn down your house or your shop or garage. Those kinds of things most likely will have an issue, but a lot of the stuff is sometimes, you may have an issue. So that's, food for thought there for safety, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're gonna start with this Serrotta jibber jabber. All right. Oh, way east of the Rockies. I'm along the lake. Oh, you're up. Oh, okay, you're up by the Great Lakes. Nice. Okay, gotcha. Lived in Michigan for a short stint. Saw a couple of the Great Lakes when we lived there for a couple of years. You get humidity, most likely, in the summer and accumulative snow. All right. Oh, you got a ride-in? Oh, okay. Okay. So you're more of the Minnesota side of it. Yeah, my buddy John Bradley, he moved to Minnesota. He's not liking it. Much as he puts a good game face on, it's most likely he's waiting for summer. He came from here, which is a little more conducive for riding in the winter for a cyclist. Even though it might be cold, but you can layer up, but the sun comes out, that kind of thing. Yeah. I remember that was the first time when I lived in Michigan. Hey, Joe, yeah, for humidity. Walked out the door at 4 in the morning to go to the airport, and it was like hit with like a blast of hot, humid air. It's like, that was kind of a shocker in July. But yeah, it sucks that moisture up from the Gulf all the way up. I feel like I'm a weather person. Okay, you're seeing me a little bit further away, so let's get a little bit closer. Sorry about that. Let's get up and close and personal on this. We're going to be doing quite a few camera movings around kind of thing. Try not to knock everything down there. So if anybody out there knows a Serrotta, had a Serrotta, knew a buddy that had a Serrotta, own a shop that sold Serrotta, chime in. Give us a little bit of insight if you have any. That's great. Hey, Mark, welcome to the live stream. Ooh. Oh, yeah, okay. Welcome. Yeah, you're from an GPA's bike shop in New York. Yeah, welcome to the East Coast. Hope you're enjoying the live stream. Oh, thank you for a jibber jabber session. You may learn something, may not already known something, and for God, heaven, I say something wrong, please correct me, because you know what? Been in for a long time. I'm not ashamed whatsoever to not know everything. Not know it all. Part of 20 something of me is died out a long time ago, and I'm more than happy to learn something new all the time, especially on older pieces like this that my memory maybe not so fuzzy, that kind of thing. We all have those deals. So, sorry, went down the wrong tube. Don't have a cold this week, so coughing should be at a minimal. So hopefully this will be a little bit better for everybody. So talking about this bike, where it came from. Interesting story, and we're here about stories, right? This is a customer, a great customer of mine, James. He has lots of bikes, and he picked up that gold titanium. This is the one I was working on for him. Got it all spiffed up. That was a Lightspeed gold titanium from apparently sold at Carlos Cyclists back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, was a team bike. That's why I was painted gold. In any case, I got all outfitted with a new Ultegra 10-speed triple. And then we put the Redshift seat post shock, stem absorbing shock, and it's not the kitchen sink bar, but it's the other one with the fancy grips. Got them all set up. He took it for a little test ride. The thing rides like a cloud. It's insane. It came in at 22 pounds, which was not too bad, a little over, for what it is and all the extra bits. So not a bad ride. So we'll see how he feels about it after a few good rides and lengthy rides on it and comfort and fit. So I got him all fitted up. But while he was picking that up, he decided to drop this off. This is a buddy of his. Don't know the guy's name, but a buddy. And he basically saw this bike hanging in his garage and was like, hey, if I get that all cleaned up and fixed up for you, will you ride with me? The guy was like, yeah. Well, the guy's not the original owner, but his uncle was. So that's where the bike kind of originated from. And it's been sitting in the garage for at least probably a couple decades without being touched. And looking at it, with that mechanic eye that's worked on a lot of bikes over the years, and especially when I've seen this when it was new back in the day. And yes, that does date me. I'm 54 this year, so I've been doing this for 35 years. And back in the Parker Bikes days, yeah, Tim, you're watching, take a shot. He always jokes about that because every time I say the PB, yeah, you always, I'd say it too much apparently. But in any case, that's my history. And I spent a long time there, like a good third of my cycling career was origin from there. So back in the early 90s, you're looking at the Ultegra 600, or no, I'm sorry, not Ultegra, Shimano 600, which is, Ultegra level because there's one down below the Dura-Ace. They did have Dura-Ace back then, by the way. And if you look at some of those classic Dura-Ace bits back then, some of it's just like, it's like pieces of artwork. I mean, it's just insane, especially if you get them all cleaned up. But when when you look at these and you know what it's supposed to look like, right? And if you can see through the dirt and the grime and the telltale signs of rim brake wear, which is one that a lot of us will look at, or brake pads, because obviously if it's ridden, those are going to be the wear points. Then you look at the drivetrain, you're looking at like how many caked up grease on there. You look at the teeth on the chain rings, see if they're worn down. You can put a chain checker on there, but at a glance visually. And then you look at the tires. Is the tires vintage of that period? And if they are they dry rot? So all those little things that we look at. And if you can see through the age of sitting, let's say, you may like, oh, this is a diamond in the rough. I mean, it is true to point on that. And looking at this bike, looking at it, how orange it is amazingly not faded. I mean, it has a little bit of faded areas, a little bit, but overall, amazingly not faded, because some of those early 90s bikes, and this is the early 90s color, this is like the end of the era of the 80s of the fluorescent. Anybody who survived that, yes, I still have burnt spots in my retinas from the 80s because of just the neon-ish going on. They did a nice little pop of a blue there to kind of make that color vibrant with the color theory there, so they worked with that. So if you look at all those things as an aging, and you're like, this doesn't look too bad at first glance. So when you dive into it and start cleaning it, you'll realize there's less scuffage. The components might be almost kind of close to like new. Obviously, the brake pads, like the tires, dry out. They get hard, so the brake pads may need to be replaced. But we'll see about that, most likely, because they look like the original brake pads, the kind of gray capped ones on there. And you got bird poop on the back. You got some, like farmer shed fuzz going on. And the other thing on this, it got victimized by spray paint carryover, because anybody who's done spray painting or painting with any kind of aerosol thing, that stuff floats. And if you do it in a close proximity to anything else in your garage, it will definitely lay on top of it. So it does have spray paint. I don't think it was spray painted on purpose. I think it was just a carryover. So we're going to have to do some very careful cleaning of the spray paint to get the spray paint off without damaging the clear coat. And my trick on that, and it's very light and polite. I do use like a clean rag, and what kills the spray paint coverages or any good smudges is carburetor cleaner or brake cleaner. But you got to be very careful with it, because if you spray it on the rag, not directly onto the frame, spray it on a drag. And if you want to test an area, test it underneath like the down tube, see if it makes sure it's not pulling any paint. Always be careful of the decals. If the decals are not clear coated and you put that carb cleaner or brake cleaner on it, it'll wipe it right off. Like, it'll be gone. So doing the fine detailing on this, that's going to be a long process for me to make sure I pull all that off. Then I'll go through the 3 different pads that I have from Scratch and Swirl, Compound, and Polish from Adams, which I have up here. And once I go through that process and get the frame immaculately polished and ready to go, then it's going to go with the ceramic coating on that from Ceramic Slam, and do a couple stacks. That ceramic coating on frame paint like this is really important for the latest technology, because it will cut down the UV breaking of the paint color. So UV protection, basically. So we're really going to try to preserve what's there. It's a refurbish, not a restoration. So I'll do the best I can what I have in front of me. And that's where this is going to be a really fun video to shoot, when I actually dive into this and clean the parts and talk about cleaning the frame and everything. And hey, we got some extra bits. We're going to be adding some, besides tires, we're going to be adding a different bar. And we're going to do one of these 1-inch quill conversion A headsets. If you haven't, if you see like a hot light speed out there and you see a 1-inch headset and you're like, oh man, you don't have to be oh manning about it. It's okay, because they make these guys, I mean, yeah, it's going to add a little weight to the bike. Let's put it that way. But you could do a conversion from a 1-inch to 1.125" A headset style with this adapter. I think Origin 9 makes one. This is Sunlight, which is actually a J&B Importers product. Pretty much everybody except me has a J&B account, so you can order them directly from your local shop. You can find them on Amazon, but I would go to a shop to buy one of these. Number one, they're not too terribly expensive. Second, you want to get it ordered. And I've seen some stem conversions out there, like the Deltas, have hit a warranty, or not warranty, well, recall. And you want to make sure you don't get caught up in some weird recall, something of that nature. So we're going to put a little bit higher stem. What this is going to do is, that's the height limit line on that. We're going to really bring up the cockpit position. The cockpit position on this is really more of a race position back in the day, which is really not comfortable for most people, especially for riding for recreational. And obviously this guy is not a a roadie. He just wants to ride his bike. So we're going to put some nice tires on there, get him in a more comfortable position, get some new comfy bar tape. I'll probably buy some that has the gel packing for him, so upgrade that. Probably put a wax chain on there, which will help preserve that drivetrain for longevity. And likelihood of this is going to be used a lot. That wax chain will probably help them. So if he rides it 1 year and a year later he doesn't ride it again, or 6 months, it's not a problem. So all he needs to do is check his air in the tires and that kind of thing. I asked if he wanted me to do a look into parts for a conversion from these drops versus the STI, and the shipping like, nah, don't worry about it. We can address that kind of thing when we get up to that level. Another thing to note on bikes like this, sitting around, and it may not, there's not very much surface rust, but you want to kind of drip. What I use, and a lot of people out there do use, is this, it's called Bike Aid. It's basically a graphite liquid penetrator drip loop. It has a nice little metal applicator. I like to put those on the threads of the bottle cage threads before, and also the binder bolt. This is integrated into the frame, so I want to put a couple of drops on those and let them sit for an hour or two. Let that stuff kind of fill in there. The reason being is, even if it is a titanium frame, which it is not, but if it was a titanium, the bolts might be steel and might have some corrosion. So the thing is, the bolt heads on these are narrower, and I don't want to muscle it in there. And I'm also going to be using more of my newer or my high-end Allen keys to at least get the bottle mount screws and the seat post binder to release. Silca, if you watch Josh's video from Silca, he goes all about the whole higher tolerances and a closer fit for the Allen keys that they have. It somewhat seemed to be true when I worked on some of the stuff, but I used my brand new set, not my beat up set of Allens, when I first tried to break older bike screws loose, because these don't feel, even when they're backed out like this, I can't move them with my hand. So I know there's some bindage there, so that's what I use to kind of help aid that process without having a big boo-boo incident and you're dealing a couple days of pulling the threads out, retapping, whatever you need to do to get it to be right. So that's a lot of stuff going on there for sure. Yeah, all right. Mark, Keith, thanks for joining us. Thank you for, I think I saw one of your comments earlier. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for joining me, Keith. I appreciate you joining in. You were making me miss my job. Oh yeah, I think you worked in the shop. Yeah, well, you can still do your own little thing like me. That's how this all started. Start off as a little side gig and that kind of thing. Oh, Josh from Precision E-Bike and Foco, neighbor from the north. Hey, for joining in. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you and chatting at the Cab Bistro in a couple weeks in Las Vegas. So I'm going to be out there for sure. I do want to put a side note, and I'll send an email to my customer base and all that and blow it up everywhere. It's like, I'm going to be out of the shop for like 2 weeks. So order, if you need anything from me, you need to order it before Friday. Or it's going to sit. That order's either going to get sit or canceled until I get back 2 weeks later. Reason being is daughter has a spring break. We're going out to Vegas in our Congo a little bit earlier. Spend some time there. They're flying back. I'm staying there because the bike show's like 5 days later, and I'm taking that opportunity to paint the inside of the condo that we have and get it refreshed so make it a little bit nicer. Been wanting to do this last couple of years, and now it's my time, opportunity to do so. So I'm going to be putting down the bike tools and grabbing a paintbrush and go to town. So hopefully it'll be a better scenery for those who see me live in the following weeks there. And maybe I'll just talk about it a little bit anyway. But and then there's the Capital Bike Show, which is only 2 days, but we're going to make fun of it. And my buddy Jack from the Parker Bikes days. So yeah, that's number 2, Tim, if you're paying attention. he's going to join me, and we used to go to the bike show back in the day, not Cab, it was Interbike back then in Las Vegas. Not expecting it to be a very huge show, but going to look forward to talking to like JB and QBP and Shimano, as well as what other vendors are there, and just kind of get the vibe for it. I'm not really purposely going there to work brand deals or any of that nature. I'm really just there to be a fly on the wall, jibber jabber, take some videos, interview some people, and bring content to this channel here. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing. Oh, that's right. You were laid off, Keith. Yeah, that's right. You got laid off from the bike shop in the fall. Yeah. There's a lot of shops out there losing people. It's scaling back as well as closing doors. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's a very volatile time that we're faced with right now. So, any case, yeah, I'm really jibber-jabbing about this Serrotta. I mean, we were demoed these back in the PB days, the titanium ones, and being a dumb young 20-year-old, was into mountain biking, and it was all like about performance, drinking all that damn Kool-Aid. And we demoed these and rode them a few times on the bike paths around Parker, and they're like, oh, this feels like kind of whippy and whatever, And it was not realizing when you get to my flavored of age, or our flavored age, if you're close to my age, you get on something that has more of a supple ride, and it's a lot more appreciative for longer rides. I knocked it back then, but now I greatly appreciate it now, and I do apologize to our rep at the time. Obviously he knew we were young and stupid, and now we're seeking out those classic titaniums to ride ourselves. So in any case, full circle, that kind of thing. Although this is steel, it does have a Columbus sticker on the fork, but that doesn't mean that's the whole frame. So good chance it is. I'll have to do a little research if I can find any information about that. I don't think Serrotta is around anymore, but it does have a Made in USA sticker on it, and it has a fun little head. The USA badge looks like the old school Captain America and Marvel logo kind of thing. So a little bit of fading on the top part, but once I get all the gunk off of it and cleaned, I think we'll be good. That's going to be good, and the shifters seem like they are still alive. So I think I'll be able to get this gym to be, back to new state as well, retrofitted for a new rider that's more for endurance, comfort riding. It'll be an excellent ride for somebody with a pretty left lift. If you're a consumer, something like this, for the detailing of that, for me and my low overhead, it costs around about $200-ish for labor on that, plus the parts, and it needs cables and housing and a chain and a bar tape and that kind of thing. So you're probably looking at $50 to $100 in parts. So if you bought something like this and $300 into it, you still have an excellent ride. It's, especially in this day's market, you're going to find a lot of super deals. Needless to say, because everybody's going to be selling, a lot of people are selling their COVID bikes. Some of the people are just, the prices have just gone down and they're sitting. So you'll see some pretty good deals. And it's not a hot buying market yet anyway in the used, so you should be able to find something pretty decent. Case in point, I've been seeing some titanium bikes, really decent ones from 1,000 less, full carbon bikes in pretty decent shape from 500 and less, and a whole bunch of bikes in the $200 to $300 price range that are actually pretty decent. A case in point, you still have to go through them and make sure you're not putting into it, but regardless, with any of those case scenarios, you can still probably have a pretty hot ride under $1,000. So we're gonna set this aside because we're gonna do the second installment. Yeah, gonna do a little ranging here. Yeah, so sorry I jump out of the screen because I'm gonna be doing thing. We'll talk about that. Yeah, real quick. Hey Scott, thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. This guy here, this company's been around at the turn of the century. I got to read the email that he sent me. Um, it's an old company from 1904, Dutch bicycle manufacturing, specialized in urban commuting bicycles. And in the 1980s, they sponsored a Dutch women's team, which I think this is something a part of that, a national team which won the 1985 UCI World Road Championships. Uh, I'm going to butcher this name. Kieti van Olstein Hage. This frame is actually a 54, is a replica of the Batavus supplied by the team, and Seed World Championship decal, which is right here. So I'll get some pictures on it. I'll post it here and abroad and other places. This has had Campy on it, which the original owner wants to take the Campy off and basically part it, sell the parts and sell the frame. It does have surface rust on the top here, which I'm kind of trying to neutralize with vinegar and kind of buff out. You can see on this side here, kind of got a little too deep on buffing, but whatever. But the decaling is pretty decent in shape. And a case in point, the carbon brake cleaners, this is the type of decals you do not want to touch with that because it will peel it right off, which I did not use on this. On the chainstay drive side, they have a chrome plating there, so it might take a little bit of aluminum to polish that up. The fork does have a little Columbus tubing, or not, is it Columbus? Well, the little bird. It's chromoly fork on this, just like on the Serrotta. This is a little bit older, but very similar vintage-ish of that Serrotta. Three-piece bottom bracket. It does have a weird hole underneath the frame. Exposed that. That was pretty common back then. You get a lot of contaminants and stuff in there. It's kind of also a drain point, so it doesn't, any water gets in the frame and it drains down to the bottom kind of concept. Adjustable drops on the back. So pretty cool. Did the detailing already. It's already been polished. I now need to just do the ceramic coating on this bad boy. And then I believe once he gets back into town, he'll pick it up and he'll list it somewhere. I'm not sure where. If I do get a copy of the listing, I will post it as well. So that's the Professional. Kind of cool, classic. I'd say late 80s, early 90s-ish, somewhere around there. Well, they said 85, so it'd be late 80s for sure on this guy. So kind of cool thing. Anyway, want to do a little show and tell there on that, or at least a catch up on that. All right. Gotta love it. Thank you for joining us, Scott again. Oh, you're so kind. Let's see here. Dave is joining us. Working vacation. Cool. Nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For the vacation. Bike shows are fun. I mean, they're just fun. It's like one of those things you just go to, and especially if I don't have too many obligations. Like my business is not reliant on it, so. It's kind of nice to have more like, I don't care. I'm going to go do this now. Or I don't have any appointments or meetings or anything. I'll send in a couple talks from National Bicycle Dealers Association will be out there. They have their little clinic the day before on a Tuesday. You have to pay for it. I'm not going to go to that one unless somebody suckers me in with a pre-pass or whatever. Which I probably need to go get a hold of Noel at Will and Sprocket, see if he's going to be there. It'd be fun to talk to him. But in any case, they have a couple extra carryover seminar type things and sit in on those. And again, the show's not going to be, it's not a big footprint. It's not like the back in the day. Interbike, it would take like 3 days to walk the damn thing. This is like huge. These are a lot smaller. You can take about 2 hours to walk through the whole thing. Which we probably will do our first pre-walkthrough, see where everything is, and then go back and talk to individuals that may have some time to speak with us and either interview or see what's going on. Kind of poking the bear. One of those things. Oh yeah, Keith, chromoly from the BMX days. Yeah. Yeah, they still use chromoly on some higher end roads. I don't know so much on BMX anymore. Oh, what does my coffee cup say? Well, it has my logo. It has my has my logo. You can find that at Spreadshirt shop. That's listed below. Should be anyway, or somewhere. That, or you can find it in the description. And it has my old Parker Bikes logo, and also has this old bike, which is the other channel I'm started, which I still need to, I need to add more videos to it. I've been kind of busy. I will be taking the opportunity when I'm out of town to hopefully revamp some videos and editing while I'm out of town to upload those. Yeah. So, all right. So that's this guy. So, all right. What time are we at? 34. All right. So this is your classic steel. It's going to be fun. That kind of thing. He's going to leave the bottom bracket and the headset bars. I think he wants to sell the seat post because this is a Campanoli soldered out seat post. So it's one of those things. If you see the frame, you want to buy the frame off him, he still has the seat post, like, hey, you know, work out a deal with him or something. So yeah, this is not a me thing. It's actually a customer. And actually the customer is, he owns a vendor. I do have one vendor, which all he does is sell chains, and he sells the Connex chains. And so that's a good segue into what I'm going to be talking about. All right, so doing like everybody in the cycling world, especially mechanics, you're doing one thing and you're doing another. Ultrasonic cleaners have been a key thing of helping those multitasking scenarios, because you can dump your parts in there, throw it in, push a button, come back 5 minutes later, agitate it. So you're able, opens up time to do other things. Same thing here. So I got my waxer going over here. So we're going to do, all right, we'll just do a little show and tell. So what I got over in the corner over here is my shop sink. And I did a little revamping recently where my shop sink now has, oops, sorry about the earthquake. I put my ultrasonic cleaner right next to my shop sink, so it's easy to load and dump water and all that. So this is my latest batch of chains, and this is with, it went through 3 5-minute stages of simple green straight, and then now it's in rubbing alcohol. And it's been through 3 cycles of 5 minutes, so total about 30 minutes of cleaning. And what I do here on these is basically, you want it up to 50 Celsius. That helps really shed that grease off, that kind of thing. And I use jars. You can use jars, well, for storage, but second I use the jars because ultrasonic abilities goes through the jars, and you still get the same outcome. And I reuse it's like mad science going on here. I do reuse the rubbing alcohol and the simple green until it gets really mucky. This is what you're doing, is just removing this is manufacturer grease, which is really just packing grease. I mean, sometimes it's not really a good, it's really not a good, oh, there's lead. It's not, I mean, it's okay lube. It's not high performance lube. Let's put it that way. And that being said, being a high performance lube, or not being a high performance lube, and you put that drip lube, a high performance lube on there, as you're just cross contaminating. So to actually get that, any lube that you buy off the shelf, you have to pretty much clean your whole chain and your drivetrain too, to have that lube work at the advertised performance. Because you throw on whatever finish line or whatever lube on top of a manufacturer chain lube, you basically just cross-contaminate. I mean, it works, it protects the chain, and then shifts, and then you get buildup from Teflon, and everything gets, you know, gunky and weird. So I have 3 chains in each jar, so I'm doing a batch of 6. So after I do that, then I move over to my waxing station, which basically is my workbench. Give you a good look here. So I'm going to give you a couple tricks. Well, that was the first trick. Clean the hell out of your chain, even though it's new out of the package, right? And once that is clean, you know, they do have from Silca it's like a stripper, which is this stuff here. Expensive as hell, but The idea is you can put that in a jar just without the ultrasonic cleaner to get all that stuff off of there, clean it really good. Then you can do the wax process or a drip wax, one of the two on that. This is not my this is my process. Ultrasonic cleaner's running. Go over there periodically, agitate it, and then turn it back on for 5 minutes, that kind of thing, and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Then you get to this point where the chains are pretty much ready. And okay, here's the one talking point about Connex chains versus Shimano and SRAM and KMC. These little guys, as everybody knows, are like the Quick Connects, whatever brand it's named, a Quick Link, that kind of thing. Well, Connex is the only one I've seen so far that advertise that these can be, number one, reusable, which Shimano and SRAM say they're like one and done kind of thing, just to cover their insurance butts. But every mechanic knows that's watching this has reused them several times and had no problem. Sometimes once in a while, of course, there's always the outliers. And then these are reusable, which is really cool. And the second thing is you don't need a tool, a chain tool on these. Well, you need a chain tool to cut the chain to the proper length, but you don't need a tool to take the chain on and off, which in waxing world is a huge benefit because you don't have to, reuse that pin. Or that Quick Link doesn't have to be replaced. A lot of people have been buying these Quick Links from Connex because they are compatible with the Shimano and the SRAM, supposedly. And then all you have to do is, like the other link, and it just, boop, like that. And the tension on it keeps it from loosening. So you're thinking, like, oh, it's going to fall apart while I'm riding. It's like, oh, not necessarily. So then I put the link in. I like waxing chains with the Quick Link on there. Reason being is you're putting wax where it needs to be on those. So here's, as I lose my hooks, I've taken old spokes, bent them to appropriate hanging thing, like you'll pay a lot of money for Silca. And I like to do, well, here's another trick. And if you're going to wax with a Quick Link or connecting link, you want to thread this through that link like so. Reason being is that gives you enough bump, enough spacing in there that keeps it from unhooking while you're waxing. So that's the trick I've learned. And I try to keep them even, so it's pretty easy to put in the dip tank and pull out the dip tank. So that's my little trick there. These I just need to set aside to dry. Obviously you want them to completely be dry. So with that rubbing alcohol, I want to make sure they're all dry before waxing. And then you're waxing. So then what do we do from there? I got a whole staging area. I did not do this on purpose. I was in the process of waxing, and I figured, well, now I can actually show you live, show and tell how I do this. I do have 3 videos of how to wax chains process in my library below, how to refresh it, and also re-wax. So I use a 2-pot system right here. One is the older wax, which may have contaminants in it, at the highest temperature possible, which is at 203. I knocked this one down to 159, where this wax will be not as thick, and that's where you want that cool down. If it's too hot, it'll shed right off, and you're not getting the full benefit or coating, basically. Again, I learned this from Zero Friction as well as Silca, and that's where my source is on learning a lot of the stuff, and also other videos. I have these chains here that I washed last night, and now they're dry and ready to go. So basically, I have that hook, you got the Quick Link right here, right? And I just kind of swirl these up to a cylinder that fits the tank, and then I just lay it in there. And it's deep enough, and I have enough wax in there that I can do 2 at a time. And then I put this in there for about 10 minutes, but 5 minutes in, I agitate it. So, and you can see there's like a white ash kind of coating. So you want that chain to heat up to a point where it's shiny. So that casing is, you want the chain itself to heat up to the temperature here. Why the higher temperature first bath? Well, that's going to help shed any stuff off of it. In this case, maybe there's a little bit of manufactured grease still on there, and it'll help kind of make that go away. Heated, shedding. So that'll do that. If you're re-waxing a chain, use the 2-bath system too. I have a little strain buffer underneath that kind of settlements goes underneath, and that's where that bad stuff goes. So on re-waxing, you take that chain, you don't have to clean it. You just put it in here, let it shed all the old wax, and then you put it in your new wax, which is right next there. So we'll give that a good 5 minutes, and they'll agitate it. And while we're doing that, and it's like multitasking, and just hook up the rest of these, and I'll double check the chat on that. And once it's waxed, okay, well, let's go to that. Once it's waxed, I have one that's already been waxed. And Scott, this is your chain, by the way. I just waxed that. So it's all, nice and stiff. So you kind of have to work the hooky thing off, which I'll need to use for these 6 because I don't have that many. I have about 8 of them. So, you got your this is how the wax chain looks like. Well, for me, you can try to put this on the bike, but it gets really chunky. I like to use this has never been used to clean a chain. It was brand new when I started using this for pre-shedding wax on chains. That's what these, pay the extra 10, 15 bucks, get one of these. You put it in here, and what this does, you just pull the cycle of the chain. And since it is connected, you can keep pulling the chain through. This will kind of break it down to a point where it'll make it easier to get on the drivetrain, and it actually will shift. And it makes it a little bit safer for the customer at the end of the day. So when Scott when I switch his chain out, which I just did, that's why I have this one I'm re-waxing for him. He has 2 he's cycling through. This enables him to just ride that first 5, 10 miles light and polite, and then he gets that super silky smooth experience while riding. So I do that about 20 or 30 times one direction, then I flip the chain around. And then if I have the bike, then I put this like you would if it was on the drivetrain and run it. And you will feel when you're spinning backwards, it'll feel a tug, and all of a sudden it'll break free and get smoother and smoother and smoother. And that kind of really helps cut down that breakdown time or settling in time for wax chains for the customer at the end result. But just doing this, it really helps the end result for somebody getting a chain that doesn't have one of these or what have you to do so. So that's that guy there. And then these are the end result. You get it pre-packaged there. So I do. Shameless plug. I do sell pre-wax chains on my website. I do have a lot of Connex. I just uploaded a few of the cerams still left over, that kind of thing. So I do sell a few. Not a lot, but I do sell a few. I do sell a few online, but mostly the other half of the sales are really just for sitting here waiting for repair like the Serrotta to come in that needs a chain that already have a pre-wax chain ready to go. So that is kind of the flow process. You could do it yourself, or you buy a chain that's already pre-waxed and maybe like 20 or 15 bucks more than what it cost originally, but that saves you from having to do all this. And if you do want to re-wax your stuff, all you have to do is do this portion of it and you're good to go. So that's my chain waxing 101, what I do. If you have a different philosophy or process in your shop, please chime in. Watching this on a replay, comment below. It's one of those things, it's old process style back in the day, but now it's becoming revamped to be the latest and greatest thing. See, I'm just agitating that just to kind of move stuff around and put it back there. And yeah, that's really the darn process of it. It's not really too overcomplicated, that kind of thing. I mean, there's just a lot of steps to it, but it does prevent the drivetrain from wearing out. The shifting is a lot smoother. Save wattage if you're a racer, that kind of thing. But there's a little bit of maintenance to it. But it also, the best thing about it, though, for general consumers, it's super clean. And you don't have like the chain marks on your legs and all that kind of thing. So a lot of upsell on that, which brings us to the other topic, which I think I got pulled. Not on my site, but I think it was Bicycle Retailer. I'm going to finish hooking these chains up first. Bicycle Retailer had a article about specialized stores, the corporate stores, right? Being the official chain wax service now for Silca, where they're using Silca as an advertising piece. Well, that's if there's any specialized corporate stores still around in your neck of the woods, because I've heard a few have been being shut down with the current events. So, any case, see how easy that is? And just hook these up. It's like a whole little math test here to get those to hook up right. With that being said, you know, a lot of shops have started doing wax services. If you're a shop watching this, please chime in below and say, hey, we do waxing too, that kind of thing. And you know, it's a benefit. Some people are just not into it. That's fine. You know, it's not for everyone. The maintenance is not for everyone. If you find a shop, if you're a cyclist and you find a shop that does the waxing and does all those, you know, does that service, yeah, it might be something to take a look at, especially if you have higher end or mid-range to high-end componentry. You know, cuts down the cost of replacing chains and cassettes as fast or as much. So that part of it is really beneficial when you look at that, because you know those cassettes on some of those bikes are very expensive. Do they have their limitations? Yes. But going back to the article on Specialized, shockingly, no, I can't find the original piece on it. I think it got pulled. Maybe they changed their mind. But it was interesting that the corporate store, Specialized corporate stores, were going to do that. I can see where they may have given some backlash because Silca is supposed to sell to everyone. They're their own little company, right? So that being said, interesting, you know, a little bit of a, yeah, soap operas. There's always soap opera in the cycle industry. And anybody of you who are actually listening to me in a bike shop, you know this all too well. Local soap opera to what have you. Oh, there it is. I'm counting them, so I don't want to make sure I fling it on the floor and disappear. So yeah, this has just straight up rubbing alcohol on it. So I'm gonna let these guys dry. Hook these up. So yeah, interesting. I didn't look up. I might poke my head into. I have a couple corporate Specialized stores in my neck of the woods. First, I'm going to check out if they're still there, it's still running. Second, to see if they heard about it, know about it, and what they charge, and what kind of service are they providing with that kind of thing. So, not sure. But any case, a lot of shops, what I've seen so far, including mine, it's like, you know, 20, 25 bucks to wax an existing chain. That's a part of a drivetrain clean already, that kind of deal. If you just need the chain itself pre-waxed, and there's different flavors of wax and that kind of thing. I will do a plug for a buddy-ish, YouTube buddy of mine here in a moment. We'll talk about that when I sit down and I can actually show the actual website for his waxing, chain waxing. I'm not sure it's a service, but he does sell pre-wax chains, and he has a lot more chains than I do. So if you can't find it on my site, prices are very similar. You can do his, and which I won't be mad about. I'm not here to take away all the chain waxing business. It's really added service to my general service, and since I do get extra chains, I figure, what the heck, why don't I just put a few for sale while I'm doing this anyway, that kind of thing. So any case, all right, yeah, you caught that, Scott? Let's see here. Always completely clean your chain, cassette. Doing tune-ups. Yeah, well, when you're doing a tune-up, there are, some shops, including mine, have a tune-up package that doesn't include drivetrain clean. Um, it's like your lead-in tune-up, which I have a video, recently, and we talked about that before on tune-up packages, and all bike shops are not the same when it comes to tune-up packages. But some people just want derailleur adjustments and may not need that much, and their drivetrain is still clean. But if it's already in the shop, pay a little extra money, get it cleaned, even though it may not be that dirty. That gets all those little secret gunks and stuff out of the chain, the cassette, and it'll save your drivetrain for longer life. Hence the case that Specialized is seeing an opportunity of trying to provide another service to their shops because, let's just face it, they're not selling enough bikes to support. That's what it really comes down to. Why are these corporate stores trying to do other things like Trek 24-hour service, refresh, rebarn, red barn used bikes from Trek, and then Specialized with corporate are doing like free tune-ups back in October, November, where they did that thing. Oh, I had one right there. And they're learning retail, by shop retail, which is something that they did not know. They claimed to be the experts of, but yet they were not finding out. So now they're going through that whole process, or they, I don't know, tried to not acknowledge that. I don't know. It's just weird. So when you have a hot wax of the first dip, I try to let most of it dip down. So if you're looking at this, it's going to be pretty shiny. It's hotter temperature, so a lot of that wax is going to fall right off. That's why I have a cooler temperature of wax. And when you do this, don't do it in, kitchen floor or something. Try to find a safe space, because your significant other will kill you if you drip a lot of wax on your carpet and leave stains. It doesn't clean up that easily, unless you have tile and that kind of thing. But here, it just flakes off, of course, but, it's one of those deals. You don't want to get in trouble by doing something. And you can see, this becomes a pretty hot mess over here, so literally. It does clean up though, and the outside of this particular waxer does, it's easier once it's on. I can easily wipe off all those excess that gets dripped versus when it dries, that kind of thing. Then I do my second batch, that other one. So it's all just, and a lot of shops will have a waxing table or something off to the side of the service area while they'll go back and chew some wheels or clean that drivetrain or whatever. A lot of shops, to my knowledge, have not pre-waxed a lot of their stock chains. Maybe some are starting to do that. We'll see. But you want to make sure the chain is completely submerged in there when I'm doing the process. And then I like the spokes because they're easy to stick up. And I put a couple magnets on this guy. It's my fishing hook, if you will, to find that other hook or poke things around. So you learn these little tricks over the period of time, and I'll finish shedding Scott's chain. And then that's kind of like the process. Then I let it sit and dry. Then like on Scott's chain, I did his yesterday, so you'd shed that. That's it could be like a little side hustle kind of thing as you're doing other work. You're just kind of doing that. Okay, so shop. Think about numbers. All right, if you're thinking about doing this, okay, your chain costs you, I don't know, $30 for a nice chain at cost, right? And it retails for $50 or $60. Let's say Keystone $60. Okay, so you got your $60 chain retail. And then you're like, okay, wax chains I've seen there on the market are probably $20 more. Okay, and I'm going to be doing 6 chains, and it's going to take me the course of doing this episode, which is 2 hours of process from beginning to end for doing a volume piece. So you figure 2 hours of labor for that one chain. It doesn't make any sense because you only made $10 an hour. But I did 6 chains, so it's 6 times that. So it's $60-ish an hour. And then you have the packaging and selling of it and also buying the chain. So let's say another hour in there. So you're down to, I don't know, profit on that about $30 an hour, $45 an hour at the end of the day, which is not too bad for shop rate. But then again, if you have higher overhead and so forth, it may not make sense to wax your own or selling that. I mean, it could be an added service when you're doing tune-ups, sure, but to do it as a high volume and resell those chains, it may not. So that's the breakdown of the back end of what that dollars constant cents. For me, the reason it makes sense for me to do it, unless I did it all just that's what I did, is just wax chains and sell new chains. That's one business, which I'll feature a store that's doing that specifically. Or you can tie it into your shop and have a couple pre-wax ready to go while you're waxing. So you're kind of double dipping in the sense of doing that process. So if you had like a repair and one chain is going to be waxed and you're doing a re-wax, you've got to heat it up in that time and all that, or clean it for a new chain. It's like, well, I might as well throw a couple other chains in there and see. You can always do a test run and see, that kind of thing, and go from there. It's just another layer of added service or opportunity for a service department to add another revenue stream to help support the mechanics and doing all that other stuff. It is beneficial. It does benefit the rider and the performance, and saves componentry costs over a long period of time. So there is a benefit to it, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I timed that right around. I was thinking about doing all this and be about an hour in. I'll have to come back in about 5 minutes here and do a little stir thing and move it over. But at this point, I think all of you will be okay with that. So that's chain waxing 101, folks. Let me take a little glance at here at the comments and see what we got. If anybody, all right. Hard to do this with gloves because, also it's flaking wax, flings. I don't have dander. All right, okay, I went back to the coffee cup. That's my shop logo, yes. Yeah. Oh, okay, Keith, you're all new to this. I'm 45, just riding a park in Enduro. Thanks for the reply. Okay, yeah, it's new or welcome. All is welcome. I mean, this is a safe space for all, new, old cyclists, been riding forever, mechanics, shop owners. People that probably don't want to watch this would be, corporate stores or corporate people at stores, they chime in sometimes too. Like, I work at the truck store here and and or got light off or whatever. In any case, it is a safe space to talk about stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, always cleaning it. So when you do like a new wax, it's really a good idea to clean the cassette, chain rings, jockey pulleys on your derailleurs, clean all that grease off as much as you can, contaminants. If you're having a drivetrain clean as a service at a bike shop, if you're not doing it yourself, that's a good opportunity to start using that wax chain, or bring in a pre-wax chain if they don't do waxing service, like, oh, you couldn't put this on. They'll cut it to length, to the right size, because all chains are a little bit longer and they want to be shortened down to what kind of cog configuration that you have. A lot of people sometimes kind of forget about that, and you put on a new chain. I've gotten repairs in, or bikes I bought, and like the chain is like way too long. They just threw a new chain on there. They get a good try. All power to them. But there's a thing to it. There's an art, because if you cut it too short, that chain will bind on the big chain ring and rip your derailleur off. So you got to be careful. So you got to kind of know. Watch a couple of videos on chain installation and measurement. I think Park Tools has a couple good ones there to go from there too. Oh yeah. Okay, Scott, there you go. Pay the $15 to get have your mechanic do it. Yeah, $15-20. You get the special rate, Scott. But anyway, JR, thank you for chiming in. All right, let's see what we got here. Actually, I'll talk about. Oh, you do. So you do acoustics, acoustic guitar. I've heard there's a couple big. I mean, I'm not into guitars myself personally, but I know that's a big piece on YouTube too, of talking about guitars and learning how to play guitars and tuning them and all that. My late father-in-law, he was really into guitars and playing guitars, so I was always trying to get him into maybe do a channel and something like that, but unfortunately he passed away a year ago. So, but another one, interesting fun fact, if you watch the Bike Farmer, he was influenced by a local guitar YouTuber in his neck of the woods where he met, and I saw a little, I don't watch all of his videos, but I caught that one. It was in his beginnings, and it was kind of interesting kind of thing for sure. Hey, Tim, good morning. A little late, that's all right. Already two, three times in the Parker bikes. So you didn't miss much. Tim, watch on the replay when you get a chance, because we did feature the Batavus and also a Serrotta eye-retting orange, yellow, or orange 80s color. And I just went over the whole chain waxing process, because I'm currently waxing chains as we speak. So yeah, here we go. So you got the dirty chain doing its thing. And also, you know, since I do two, I mean, 5 minutes each is usually, 5 to 10 is usually the kind of rule of thumb. Since I do a 2 bath, if I do cut that time a little short, you're still getting a good wax. I mean, it's basically you're doing the thing. So on this one, you can kind of, well, you probably can't see very well, but it does have a little more buildup, because I have it down to 159 on the temperature there. And so that means not as much wax is gonna shed as, and I like to have a little coat hanger thing. You can check my Amazon store for all this stuff, because I have it listed in there in the chain waxing part for most of it. And that way, see, that's how I use the fish hook here to get it out. And that way you can get yourself set up. But I'll show you Vital chains, Vital bike chains as another individual I'd probably recommend going through for either wax chains or even your own kind of startup kit. So we'll go to that in a minute here. But this is kind of, you know, these are not too expensive, the 2-pot. I kind of like the 2-pot system, but if it's more than you want, you just want to do the one, there's those opportunities out there too. That kind of thing. And wear gloves. That keeps you from burning yourself as much. As much as I say as much. Oh. See how sometimes I had something get goopy. Oh, I got a goober. Where's that from? Interesting. So then set this in here for its final phase of the cooler wax. And you know, you can leave it there for 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes what I'll do on my last little batch, I'll just turn it off and let it sit there for 5 minutes, because I don't need to be heating anything, so I can turn off my hot wax. But I'm done for waxing. I'm going to still keep these drying, the ones I just pulled out. I'm just going to let those dry for, I'll probably do it later this afternoon, but I like to let them make sure they're super, super dry. You don't want to add any extra contaminants, especially, you know, rubbing alcohol evaporates, so you just want to make sure it's all completely evaporated, that kind of thing. And, oh, you're fighting me. This is where you get the drip war. And you got to have that curiosity of a kid back in the day when you're playing with your parents' candle wax and just burning the hell out of yourself, to really enjoy doing this. Now, some people like doing it because it's kind of therapeutic. So it does make a mess, so do it in a safe space, you know, that kind of thing. And with all this dripping and reshedding and all that kind of thing, you can wax a lot of chains with one bag of the Silca. I mean, it goes through a lot. I mean, for me, it takes me a while to get through a bag. If you're just waxing your own chain at home, that bag will probably last you a couple of years. I mean, it's depending on how many bikes, of course, and all those things, right? But realistically, that's what you're kind of looking at on that aspect of it. But yeah, look at the time. Yeah. Okay. I'll talk for a few minutes here. So those will dry up and get stiff. But I just let it sit there and let it drip. And it's already done dripping. It's already, the drips underneath have already hardened. So it doesn't take very long. Obviously, if it's hotter out, temperature-wise, humidity may be a factor, all that. I'm not that kind of a scientist. My wife is, so that's what we're looking at. Oh, I forgot to put that saddle back in the bag. But in any case, all right. So, but that's kind of the rule of thumb on the temperatures and all that, and the philosophy behind it. Mark, thanks for joining in. All righty. Keith, you're back. Keith, back. Oh, you had to get lunch with the kids? Yeah. Kids. Mine's in school, but I have to go pick her up a little bit early to go to a doctor's appointment kind of thing. Just a well check. So nothing major. Just, that's what makes my job, how I set everything up here as appointment-based bike shop out of my garage makes me able to block off time to do all the family function, everyday normal things. Because when you have a brick and mortar store and that door is open, you're a slave to it, which there's benefits. Obviously, they'll probably get more volume and so forth, but if you're more appointment-based, there were some comments in the last video about possibly doing a bike shop and having a couple days of the week just appointment-based only. Therefore, you can get in, keep the door closed, and what have you. It all depends what kind of traffic that you're getting, what's your setting of your location, that kind of thing. But for the smaller shops, possibly, I don't know. It is kind of, I'm at home in a neighborhood, so I don't have a lot of foot traffic, people peeking in the window thinking I'm open like a regular retail store. So there is a kind of a negativity point of that where people wanting to get their flat fixed, they roll up on a Monday and it's appointment based only and you're not there, or you are there and you're just ignoring them in the window. So I could see both sides of that kind of thing. All right, see you, Scott. All right, so chain waxing 101. There you go. Give you the insights of how I'm doing this. I did start pre-cleaning those about 30 minutes before the video started, so that adds to that time stamp. If you're looking at the time going, oh, it's done, you're like, Let's get down to our sit-down phase. Jibber jabber, and I can actually read the comments a little bit more in real time. In addition to show some highlights of the latest and greatest industry insights of that. All right, so if I noticed, I did some little arranging. I added a new bench to my little shop area, which makes it a little more feng shui efficient kind of thing. Don't let me forget about those chains and the wax. I don't want to be peeling them off later, that kind of thing. So got a few more minutes there. Siri's starting to eavesdrop on my watch. All right, so I still got a few of you on. Hey, thank you for making this long. If you're just joining us, thank you for Shop Talk Tuesday. If it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. And we talk about a few things, and we just wrapped up a couple bikes that I'm working on. In addition to a little service that I do, which I was in the process of doing it, so little insights of chain waxing. So if you're just joining us now, you can watch this on the replay. Hopefully I'll get a chance to put timestamps in there and make it a little bit easier for you to isolate those moments, because I know when you look at a 2-hour video, you're like, oh crap, where do I need to skim? So I will try to provide those insights as well as in the replay. When you do watch this live, hopefully you're not seeing any advertisement, because I did not put it on the affiliate advertising role, because it seemed to be very disruptive for you individuals while we're watching this live. So on the replay, you will be seeing advertisements, because I put that monetization on there and I make my whole $3. So yeah, I don't make much, but it all adds up, right? It's all part of it. All part of it. All right. Yeah, industry news. This is your, not to copy the weekend update from Saturday Night Live. At least that's a comedy. Sometimes it is funny, but it's more painfully reality on this, and that's where we're looking at. The topic last week was just a general chaos industry. I think we had a three-part piece of pain that we're all trying to figure out, from tariffs that are going to be in effect to economical state and online sales and all that, and our behavior of customers and where all the customers are going to be hiding at or going. free tune, free tune up. I'd strike, yeah. Uh, Oh, you live in an area with a lot of homeless people striving on their, striving on their bikes. Yeah, we have that too. Been a thing. I've always seen that, but it's just becoming more prominent, of homeless people. Talking to Keith's comment here of homeless people, and they do hover at a lot of the nonprofit, also the bike co-op in Fort Collins. There's also another bike shop here in Loveland called Bike Therapy, where they sell lower and older bikes. A little bit less expensive for those people to get into it. I do see randomly a loose bike laying around that you kind of think it came from one of those individuals that just, it broke on them, they just dumped it, that kind of thing. My demographics where I live, there's a Walmart not too far. Not to say that it draws that, that's not really, but there is also a blood bank where a lot of people donate plasma, which is pretty close. And I do see them individually with their signs going into Walmart or walking, as you're trying to go into Walmart and driving out, seeing those too. With their bikes, with their, it's a whole sad scene, but hopefully they can find a better place for all those individuals. But yeah, that is a culture for sure. And the people do need those bikes to get around and that kind of thing, and hopefully they can find better solutions to that. But in any case, back to the crazy industry that we're in, and that's it as it is. The second half of the Tuesday Shop Talk, I like to talk about the latest and weirdness and whatever. Great, sometimes there's good news. So that one bit on the bicycle retailer was very interesting about the Specialized, which for some reason I can't find it, the Silca, being a Silca partner, that kind of thing. Was very interesting as they're bringing on that service. So they're identifying that they need to add more services, and they're all looking for, in every bike shop, I can guarantee you, unless they're already got their mix down for working on used bikes or used parts or doing a lot of service, those particular shops, I've actually talked to one recently, and they're doing really well. And some of them have chimed in before on my channel saying they've had their best year ever. So going into 24 into 25, those particular shops are probably not going to navigate too much because they already have a secret sauce that's working for them in their market. But the rest of the industry is struggling, especially on a lot of shops that rely on a lot of their income on new product and new sales. And a lot of that new sales for some shops are really high end, where the economy state of the state is eroding that confidence of purchasing. So it's not that great. So it pushes a lot of people into doing used, a lot of service, but there's people riding. At the end of the day, that's where, when I talked about last Sunday, at the end of part of that video was, there is support for shops and organizations, like what was it called? Well, there's People for Bikes is one, and the other one is the National Bike Shops, the Dealers Association, or something like that, NBDA. They've been around, both of them have been around for a long time. People for Bikes is more advocate for infrastructure and all that kind of stuff, but they also have dealers, and they work with some of the bigger brands too. But the NBDA is the one that it really is more bike shops, organizations that come together, and they have a P2 group, and they have breakouts on that. Well, when you're looking at those particular organizations trying to navigate our state of the state, we're in a really weird place. If you're in the bike shop, environment, working in a shop, and we're in a very weird place. Even if you only have opened the shop in the last couple of years, or even in a year, You've been hearing a lot of chatter because you'll be meeting a lot of other bike shop owners that have been around a long time, like i.e. me, going, this is not normal. Like, this is not the normal state. We usually have one or two of these issues bubble up once in a while here and there, like the 2007 when the house crisis boom or crash and boom and all that. In the 80s, it seems like every decade there's a big colossal mess up. And now we're in the 2000s with its own colossal mess up. And it's kind of like cherry picked all the bad ones over the last 100 years and smash them in 1 year or two. It's just this massive mess. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this is what it is. And it doesn't matter what side you're on, it's all going to affect us. Regardless if you're acknowledging it or not, it's happening. I mean, we just had to have a very deep conversation over the weekend of our own family budget of grocery buying and how we need to adjust because we're going over and we're like, oh, we need to do some massive adjustments because things are more expensive and that kind of thing. And it's creeping up. And, that's just what it is. So in the case in point, that's going to affect bike shops to the point where there may be increasing prices or costs on a lot of their stuff by 10%. When you talk about 10%, you're thinking, well, as a consumer, you're like, oh, that's not too much. Well, if you look at the 10% on something that it cost you $50 to buy and you're supposed to sell it for 100 and you can't sell it because the market's soft, so you got to discount it. Well, that $50 cost to replace it for a new one to put in place when you do sell that one is now going to cost you $60 or $55 and maybe sometimes $60 depending on the fluctuation of what they have to raise the prices on you. So that margin that you used to get $50 off of, which is considered keystone, doubling it, which now is softening it down to 40 to 30%. When you're looking at those, okay, there's a lot of numbers here, but when you're looking at 30% and you're looking at 30% on tubes and tires and those accessories that you're supposed to get the bigger money, that's really cutting you off at the knees, and you're not selling as much, which is cutting off the other knee. And before you know it, you're just hobbling on two bloody stumps, and you don't know what to do with yourself because you can't reach the bike to do a tune-up on. Just kidding, bad joke. Any case, it's one of those scenarios where the front end retail, because bike shops is basically at least two businesses, if not three. Reason being is you got the selling side of it, new bikes, used bikes, parts, accessories, clothing, nutrition, all that stuff. It's one business. The other one is the whole service department. Kind of like a car dealership, but different. But you have the service department, which is doing its own labor and so forth, but that takes a lot of tech skill. A salesperson just needs to read the package and go, oh, this is what it does. But when you're a service department, I did oversimplify that to some level, but it is to that level and to some degree. You can train a salesperson a heck of a lot faster than a bike mechanic. That's all I'm trying to say. A bike mechanic to be sourced to actually know what they're doing and have her do a really good job and have some seasonality to it, because the more years you work at it, the better you get. Therefore, even at 35 years of working on bikes like me, you still are learning stuff all the time. Newer stuff, mid-range stuff. Oh, I haven't played with that before, and even old school stuff. But in the general consensus is I embrace learning new stuff as it's not too overwhelming for me. When you have a newer mechanic, it could be extremely overwhelming, especially if they don't have somebody that's going to help them, guide them through those tricky bits, and could have that source written. And it could be a source like mine, like reach out, like, how do you work on this or whatever. You got to get that level of vote of confidence, like, okay, because if you're too panicked about everything, you're going to start shutting down service. Case in point, some shops will not work on bikes at a certain age or older. Well, you're just cutting yourself off of a huge money income, and you're deterring that customer to coming back to do, even if they have newer bikes, because you're not willing to work on those. So the bike shop dynamic is just a colossal craziness on a normal day. And then when you add all these other variables outside the four walls, it makes it even more challenging. So therefore, that's why you're actually watching this, and actually that's why those videos that I produce on those particular topics are the bigger volume click volume videos because we're all kind of like, eh. And part of it is entertainment in the sense that some people like watching a train wreck. And unfortunately, I don't like being in the train wreck. you know, that's where it is. So what are we looking at? So the video that I did last, okay, before I get into that, I don't want to be too doom and gloom. I want to talk about, okay, we did some chain waxing here. And I want to do a screen share of this guy. Okay. Vital bike chains. Okay, he has an eBay account, so you've probably seen maybe some of his pre-wax chains on eBay. So Bill, I'm giving you a free plug here. He's been waxing chains. He's did a little mock-up video of me too on his YouTube channel. That's kind of funny. Apparently, he thinks I'm okay. So what he does is chain waxing. That's all he does. He has a normal job too, but this is his thing. So he's taken the KMC chains and done the whole Silca, or you can choose either or. I think he does either pre-waxing on a lot of them or wax on demand kind of thing. So, yeah, he does the Shimano chains and so forth. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is he has a lot more models and brands and styles than I do have time for, because this is all he does. So I'm more than happy to highlight and feature his channel. If you don't find it on my website, go to him. You get the same quality because he does all the same things that I do, and you're still getting a high quality. At the end of the day, I'm trying to help out the consumer. Period. That's what it is on this. So he has several chains on there. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a navigating for what speed. So, Bill, if you're watching this, that's what I would suggest doing for like a category tree for those for people. Or you can, I don't know if he has a search bar either. But in any case, there you go, 8-speed chains up to the 12-speed chains. He has some of the higher end stuff from SRAM. He had like one Connex, and he was asking me if Connex was working for me. And well, it is to some level for sure, but as in resale, maybe he'll sell more, or maybe I'll sell more of them, of that kind of aspect. So that's why I'm kind of featuring his channel. Hopefully you're seeing this. Okay, you are seeing this. So reason why I bring this up is you saw all the stuff to do. What he has done is, oh, he has Cutter shirt. That's kind of cool. Cutters, the Breaking Away, I think it is, the movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is it the other one? He did source some waxers, and what he does is, like I was telling you, like the Silca bag is like more than enough and you last you forever. He has breakdown quantities of those, so you don't have to buy the whole bag. And he also has a waxer himself, which quite honestly looks and feels and smells like the same thing that is coming from Silca for $100. Granted, they have a little hangy thing. Well, if you saw mine, go to my Amazon shop. Under the waxing part, you'll find it's a bag holder on Amazon. That's all that is, and it's all you need, and it's like $15. So there you go. So get the waxer, get some. So he has a pre-wax kit for half the price of what you would buy for just the waxer itself from Silca. Just saying it out loud. Then I thought he had, where did a couple, oh, there it is. Here's the almighty enchilada for $89. Okay, get this. Okay, this is like the deal of the century here. Oh, well, if you're into waxing, you get some wax that you need, and you got what they call the stripper chip, right? And the endurance chip. The stripper chip is the chip that you can put in the already existing wax that will shed the manufacturing grease right off, so there's no cleaning of it. How well it works, I don't know. They claim it. They have a lot of Kool-Aid on this from Silca, but it seems to be working okay for them. But when you're looking at this, you get that stripper chip. that goes in the wax. You can watch videos on that. Then you get the waxer, all for $89. So if you're wanting to do the waxing thing and you want to have pretty much a good starter kit, there you go. Grab an old spoke from your local bike shop to do the hanging thing, and the $15 bag hanging thing from my Amazon store, and bam, you're off to the races, waxing your own chains. There you go. So I wanted to feature him on there because he seems to be a pretty cool lad. And he's providing an inexpensive way of waxing yourself, in addition to a lot more brands and flavors of chains that I provide. Just the opportunity, if you want to stick with Shimano, you got Shimano on there. All I've dived into is Ceram and the Connex, but the Connex is German steel, German company, the toolless, quick link kind of thing. There's a lot of benefits, but they are more expensive. Not huge, but enough that may, if people are really watching their pennies and their nickels, they may not want to pay the extra 10 to 15 bucks on that. And of course, with every chain brand, there's multiple levels, so you can go crazy from 40 bucks to 30 to 40 bucks for a chain to 150 bucks. Like some of these, SRAM I think has gone kind of off the deep end on some of their high-end chains and cassettes, which is really unnerving if you ask me. But in any case, that's what I'm saying there. In any case, that's where you're looking at. Oh, I got to pull those chains out. Hold on. Before they solidify and become a big chunk of wax. But, give you an opportunity for those things to do yourself. It skimmed over. It's one of those opportunities that you can do yourself. I mean, and there's a lot of saying that there's a lot of this you can do yourself, that kind of thing. But when you're looking at how the bike industry is, trade some of these out. They've followed the auto industry about 10, 15 years ago. They all decided, Grouply, Trek Specialized Giant, all of them decided to go, let's make this as most complicated as possible so they can't work on their own bikes. And there lies the problem in the cycling industry. Ooh, that's super goopy. That's going to be fun. I might have to redo that one. In any case, that's what happens when you let it in there too long. It still feels hot though, so they're just going to shed. In any case, a little love tap. That's how you kind of make sure you recapture it. But for me, I'll be reshedding it anyway and breaking it through the little chain tool there, so that's not a problem. Cap those guys. Shed my flakes. All right. So, yeah, that's a whole bunch of information on chains and waxing and process and all of that. Well, my vendor that I get chains from, I'll present this here, and that's where the guy dropped off the bike for me to part out. Where is his? There it is. This guy's been in the business like for a long time. I mean, a serious long time. And level out my camera. Reason being, I was Mr. Bradley, my buddy from days past, and you've seen a couple of interview videos with him. My camera just shifted again. Anyway, I'll lean to the left a little. He sells direct to consumer, so he does a lot of the Connex chains. This is where I get my chains. And you too, if you want to purchase a chain, you can go directly to his website and buy chains from him too, that kind of thing. Connex does have its own wax, so I'm very intrigued on that. Once he gets that in stock, I might take a block of that and take a look. There's also like Silca has their own liquid brand as well. So Conex has theirs too. And coming from a chain manufacturer, one would think that they would put a lot into the R&D on this before they release it. So that's just, maybe. Um, we'll see. But on his site, uh, Cantitoe Road. They're all broken down by how many speeds. Connex is doing a pre-wax chains option, and they're going to be hitting the States here soon, but only on 10, 11, and 12 speeds, and they're only on one model of their chain, and I probably think it's their mid-range chain. So if you were looking at a higher end or a lower end and want that waxed, they're not going to have that. It's not like on everything for their pre-waxed. So I'm assuming their pre-wax is probably not their SX chain. It's probably their S8 chain, I would assume. Probably not the SO. And Connex does make a e-bike specific chain, which will be followed by the letter E, obviously, for e-bike. So they have one e-bike chain in 10 speed, and the S model, which is like the S8 model, which is like 50. So you're looking at $30 more, or $25 more. And the prices between these three are different lengths. So if you need a longer chain, I think 124 link will fit most bikes, but double check, because those longer ones, kind of like the Trek Townie Goes, they have a lot longer drivetrain. We'll have to have a longer chain to go on that, accommodate that. So if in doubt, just buy the longer chain. Yeah, I may pay a little bit more money, but sure is better than having like 3 or 4 links too short and you're in super trouble, that kind of thing. So that's where you can get a lot of good information, and also if you're looking to try a Connex chain without being waxed, and your local bike shop can do that too, but only so many people sell the Connex in the United States. And they're a national company, so I'm sure you can probably find something in your neck of the woods. Removed myself. Oh, there we go. To do such. I feel like I'm still tilted. In any case, yeah. So there's an opportunity to sweeten your ride, as they put it. Sweeten your ride. Chains is the wear out point on a bike. So those things that, you want to improve and get better efficiency, last longer, all that kind of thing. In any case, Precision. Josh at Precision e-bike. We just got our Bosch e-bike motor service certification. Nice. Congratulations to you, Josh at Precision e-bike, Fort Collins, Colorado. If you have a Bosch motor on your e-bike, reach out to him. I guess it's 4 hours. Yeah, a lot of those certifications, a lot of training or something, but Josh is just the back. I have a video on him. I interviewed his shop, so look that up. He's been in the industry for a long time. He's been doing a lot of playing with electricity for a long time too, electric motors. So he is definitely well versed before the rest of us even thought about doing it. So, in any case, breaking away. That's right. Cutters breaking away. I have a jersey short which is too tight for me now to wear, so it's scary. All right. Well, thanks, Keith, for chiming in. Appreciate it. Let's see. Going into the news of the news, the state of the craziness. Yeah. Well, just this last topic on Sunday was focusing on bike shops, and and more of the customer facing, what you're expecting, and what those hardships of bike shops have always been working with, and now even more challenges. The inventory becoming an inventory manager is one of the hot topics because a lot of people have been mentioning, I walk into the shop, I can't find what I'm looking for. Well, unfortunately, they can't stock a lot of stuff in a sense because, well, they're afraid to pay more of it. But also, when you're looking at the bike specifically, those particular brands, the upper end stuff or certain models, if the major brands are now selling direct to consumer in about a month or two, if they're having really soft sales on those, they will discount it and not credit back the bike shops, which will basically sink a bike shop in one season. And seen it done, has happened, and it's going to continue to happen if the bike shops are not being very mindful of they have to be really more mindful of their purchasing, because now their vendors become a competitor. And even though how even like one of the brands is like, oh, we'll give you a little kickback on the bikes that we sell in your area with our brand, that kickback does not offset the hardships that you're trying to compete with them. So that's a whole nother topic in itself, but that is one of the small incidents of dealing with inventory with the particular ones. Well, what does that do? It pushes you down to lower price bikes and less quantities. So you're right sizing, according to like to John Burke back a year ago when the leaked memo. Well, it's they're going to be right sizing, and everybody's right sizing, and everybody has to reevaluate, especially this year, of their whole bike shop. They may be doing great. Maybe they're doing a lot of service and selling a lot of used bikes and being really on top of it. That's awesome. So they're just going to kind of double down on that and make it even better. Maybe add some extra services like detailing frames or waxing chains or anything that's coming new and upgrading, or learning and getting certified like Josh here, getting to work on more e-bikes, because that's still huge-ish, and it's still going to be there, and there's going to be those services needed down the road for sure. It's not going away. You can't put your head in the sand and think, oh, this is going to blow over. It's not going to go away. So it's going to continue to go and grow. That's the only thing that's been really growing, even though you like it or not, there it is. So as a service or a bike shop, you got to really address those things. And a lot of them have, and now they're really going to have to put a lot more effort into it to sustain and keep ahead of it. So that was one of the main topics, was the inventory, which I had a cheat sheet here for my talking points. And then you have the economical uncertainties, and those uncertainties are basically a lot of job loss or threatening job loss, or just thinking you're going to get nobody's going to buy anything if they think they may have a chance to be affected by somebody losing their job. It may not be them directly. It may be a contractor related to down and down. Everything rolls down, right? So if you're not able to get those contracts to help your department do whatever it does, research, for example, you're not going to be really wanting to purchase those. If you cut out 800 jobs out of a department that has basically on average six-figure incomes, if not more, you're taking out, I think it was like $80 million out of that particular market. That's huge. So when you have that disruption and uncertainty, that's going to people are not going to be coming in the door looking for, if they don't have those securities, a $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 bike. It's just not going to happen. So that's where you have a lot of the shops that do a lot of new are really kind of thinking and restructuring, if they can, to offset or do what they need to. Case in point, specialized stores doing Silca wax, chain waxing. Or Trek's been doing the 24-hour service. They're going to do a lot more advertising on that, which I've already seen, in addition to seeing what service departments can do for the other corporate stores. Because right now, they are definitely seeing an extreme softening of the sales of their bikes, and they're feeling the pinch just as much as everybody else. So, ouch. Any case, so that's just the two parts. Then you have the whole competition of online sales, which is nothing new because we've been dealing with that with performance, which I mentioned in the video, and Ashmar and all that over the decades. What is new, though, is a lot of these companies are propped up using the de minimis tariff act thing, which lets you bring in products $800 and under direct to the consumer from out of country without being affected by any tariffs or regulations. Well, that's being going through, a congressperson has put that in legislation or a bill or whatever, how that works, to eliminate that. So it's already in the process of elimination. They tried to cut it about a month ago, but, it's cutting off somebody's, another billionaire's money pipeline. So they put it back in place, not going to touch it. But this is their way of how they're supposed to do it. Put it, litigation of it, and then do what they do. Most likely it will, because there's a lot of support against getting rid of it. Why, you say? Who is supporting it? Well, not just left or right or otherwise. Corporations that are already here in the United States, and small bike companies or companies that or all retail, they're making small, even stuff in the United States like bags and nail wraps or whatever they're making here in the United States are competing against the direct to consumer from China pricing or any other country that's lower in prices to the United States. And also there's the safety regulations part of it too. So it's really kind of in the best interest of our companies to eliminate that. But what's going to kill is the Temu, the AliExpress, those companies that sell directly from China that are on Amazon as well as eBay are going to be affected by this. So, okay, what's that mean? Well, for you as a consumer, you may not like it, but the rest of the bike industry or any retail, in that fact, is going to be okay with that because that actually levels the playing field, essentially what it is. So, but then again, you're not going to get that cheap knockoff tool that from Top something or whatever, Top Wheel or whatever it is, or directly from China. That has a similar design as the Park tool. So instead of paying $80 to $100 for the Park tool, you're buying $20 to $15 for it or whatever it is, and directly shipped to you for free from out of the country. Any case, that will affect the bike shops, maybe in a good way, but that is something that you can't bank. It's not going to help them this week, this month, this year. It's going to be something in the long term. But that direct-to-consumer sales, something that you just saw me feature, a chain, people are actually leveraging that. Bike shops, if you're listening, if you do sell used parts, if you're only doing it on Craigslist Marketplace, start putting that stuff on your website or eBay to get a bigger market, because I'm telling you, that's what the portals I sell through, and about half of my used bits or whatever and bikes and stuff are about 50-50 between my website and eBay. So you still got to leverage it. Prices are a little bit more on eBay because I got to offset the costs of what they charge, the 15%. But there lies, you're getting in front of people. Well, do people find me on eBay and trickle back to my website? Absolutely. Shh, don't tell eBay that. But if you watermark your pictures with your logo, people will put two together and go, hey, by the way, oh, it's $10 cheaper and I don't have to pay sales tax on that. So there you go. There's opportunities for bike shops to leverage those, to sell all those bins that you saw that I'm doing waxing. All those bins have hundreds and hundreds of dollars of good used stuff that can go somewhere else besides underneath your bench. It's a win-win. It makes you, if you need that extra cash flow to help pay off that extra mechanic for the season, or at least lunch for your staff or whatever, that's an opportunity. It doesn't take very long. Clean it up. You got an ultrasonic cleaner already. Take some pictures of it. Post it. If you're already doing it on Facebook and Craigslist, just copy that information and put it on eBay and or your website if you have the ability. There's opportunities there to help the bike shop get through that. That's one of the things you'll see with bike shops too, leveraging those services. So it's going to be going into this next year. It's going to be really service heavy oriented, because that's the thing. There's the same amount of riders out there. They're all on the bike paths doing that. They may be buying new, but they're still going to need the same, if not more, work on those bikes. So if you can cultivate those cultures of, basically club rides or group rides or races or novice races or any of that kind of stuff, to help basically grassroots your business and rely on services and do more of those charity events, getting you out there, pitch a tent by the bike paths on those weekends with an extra mechanic, just saying, hey, free safety checks or whatever, and those kinds of things. There's one shop in New York that does like pancakes in a park. They have a little group ride, and they cook up pancakes for the riders out there, that kind of thing. Those are the things that you're trying to cultivate the cycling community and getting people out there riding to feel more comfortable. Because the recreational riders are the ones that are going to be willing to spend money on tubes, tires, chains, bar tape, all the other little things. That's going to help carry these bike shops over, not the $10,000, the $5,000 bikes. And also those $10,000 to $5,000 bikes, margins, when I talked about margins before, are even less. Yes, they're making $500 or whatever that one bike, but think about how much they have to upfront the $5,000 to make that $500. It's hard. I mean, you got to be a super accountant to keep all that straight. So looking at the customer going forward, or looking into the shop, those are the things you're going to see, hopefully, a shop cultivate, which brings back to me how I always coined it, the old Parker Bikes days. Tim, you're still listening. That's another one. Where it was more community-based, and the bike shops were fighting for every customer and giving them a warm hug. Back then, though, there was a lot of competition amongst bike shops because it was a market that they're all trying to take a piece of. Well, now we have a shrinking of bike shop footprint where, yeah, you may still have, if you have like a REI or a Trek corporate store or a specialized corporate store down the street, they are not going to be providing the same services of your local store. And that's where I had one conversation, there was one conversation in the chats of the last video saying it took me like 3 shops to find the individual that knew what the hell they were doing. And it's just a one individual shop guy, kind of like me, what I do. And they were blowing the doors off of the bigger shops because, I mean, that guy's not doing high volume by any means. He doesn't want to, like but we keep busy, and there's a reason why we keep busy, and there's a reason why we're still here. Because we're just that smart and good looking. Anyway, hey, David, thanks for chiming in. Absolutely. Oh, Colin, we're talking. Oh, Colin, thanks for chiming in. Appreciate it too. Discussion on the components regarding capitalism, extreme and selfish practices. Yeah, when you're looking at components like Trek, or not, sorry, Shimano, SRAM, Microshift, which is the Chinese brand, or whatever. It's the less expensive one, which they've been using on the lower end bikes, which works fine. It works good for most average riders. Any case, yeah, you're looking at a lot of componentry companies have the same disease as the manufacturers, like the brands, because they feel like the only way out of a bad scenario is releasing new tech, R&D, which fell extremely flat last year, whatever they released. And it's usually always high end. So, and they're always been competing like to be the first one to do the 12-speed, or the first one to do the electronic shifting, or the first one, you've seen this if you've been in the industry for a long time. They've always been trying to one-up each other and trying to drive those sales and, energize the cycling community to buy those things. But unfortunately, they price themselves completely out. And there's no way they're going to have a bike that's going to be released $15,000 and they're going to think they're going to have a high-end sales rate. I mean, yeah, there's still going to be people who are going to buy those, sure. But the numbers on the quantities are going to go down way high. And not every Specialized Trek or whatever brand it is, dealer is not going to carry all of those. No way and how. So that's where they've always tried to beat that like into the market. Then it fell soft and they're like, oh, what do we do now? They don't know what to do besides discount, because they have the stuff ordered coming in, and then you add this whole tariff mix up in there. That's really going to just make everything kind of more wonky. So yeah, it's a perfect storm of weirdness for sure. Great point though, Colin, about even the sub companies that support the componentry for the main manufacturers. Okay, let's talk about that for one split second here. Is when they're trying to say, let's build all the bike shops in the United States again, bring that manufacturing back. Where does a bike company make the frame? Period. In most cases. So that's, you already having that. You have like um, all these small companies making like titanium bikes or in the United States or building them in the United States, the frames. But all the parts, which is a third of the bike, is the drivetrain components and so forth, Shimano and SRAM, they're all made overseas. They don't make those here. They're not going to move that manufacturing over. We're not built up for it. And how many years is it going to take to build up to do that? To be even competitive, which when they go to the accountants, they're like, ain't going to happen. That's the third year bike there. Then the other third is the other parts like wheels. Maybe you can get some of those built here like in the back in the day, spokes, hubs. Well, that's part of the components. But you're talking about bars, stems, seats, seat posts, all that other stuff that goes on the bike. Those are all part, look people, bike shops, if you're in a bike shop, you know this, but if you're a consumer, a bike is a colossal collage of vendors in one bike. It may say Trek, but it has a whole bunch of different vendors or white label companies making all those parts that make parts for everybody else. So it's very complicated. Look at the auto industry, same kind of thing. Engines go to Canada, come back, whatever, get tariffed like 4 times. They're freaking out over that. You're looking at, I mean, our stuff doesn't go back and forth like that, but most cases, I don't think. Anyway, with the cycling world, it's a collage of stuff put together. That's why you have one brand that has a Shimano Ultegra on it, and you have another brand with Shimano Ultegra on it. The frames are a little bit different because the ride's a little bit different. But other than that, though, they're essentially the same price point bikes. And that's where you compete the market. If you try to up that price anyway, consumers are not going to pay for it regardless. They're going to be like, well, why can't you make it cheaper? Well, I'm sorry, but our cost of living here is way more, and you can't pay people to work at the same price overseas. Well, a different case in point. What is probably going to happen, though, is like Univega. They're assembled here. All the stuff's made over everywhere else, but it's all assembled here and packaged and then goes to the consumer. That's probably the most likely the direction it's going to go if this pull for back and forth is going to happen. But going to flip the switch and do it, because the thing is when it flipped out of the United States, case in point, little story about Trek. Back in 2006, when the carbon design team goes over to Taiwan and sees how they're building carbon frames, because they're thinking about maybe making a model or two into the Trek line. Because at that time, majority of the Trek products were being made in the United States, well, at least the bikes, frames, and various pieces. But when you look at the part when they were looking in Taiwan, going, whoa, they were so far ahead in the carbon technology and the costs on it were so much lower. Trek moved their whole facility, this is all by hearsay, anyway, through rumor of mouth, but they moved everything from being built in the United States for the most part over to Taiwan within 2 years. Boom. I mean, you can do that going that direction because they're already building all that stuff. We're not already building all that stuff, so it's not easy to move everything back. Does Trek still have the buildings that they were doing and producing bikes back in the 90s and the early 2000s? Probably. Are they tooled up? Not even close. Are they tooled up with even the old tools? No, they sold all that stuff off a long time ago. So it would be a huge lift for any company, which they probably don't have the fundings to do if they wanted to do it anyway, to produce that, especially in the volatile economical times that they have. And there's no guarantee they actually will make a profit at the end of the day. So it's horrible, bad storm for anybody. So when you say let's move manufacturing back, it'll be a slow and go. We've been doing some of that, but it's more around the prototype or the smaller niche companies that are doing that, like Black Sheep. What's the one up in Steamboat? There's like Moots in Steamboat is one that do titaniums. Linsky is another one that builds titanium bikes and so forth. But they're all kind of hurting. So why would you follow a model that's already hurting to try to improve nothing? So it's not, it's just a hot mess. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that is not going into like the supply chain issues and so forth, the second topic portion of this. And the demand of that inventory is lessened, and then you still have a good portion of competition, which is still fighting over whatever's left at this point. Okay, and yes, this is the bike shop and a garage in the middle of America perspective, right? It's probably a little different in different countries and different hemispheres and the European market and so forth, but it's still a problem, or it's going to affect those companies that either American companies or other companies trying to get in the United States are going to have all those issues, and it's be problematic on top of a very not strong economy in the sense that we're all nervous. and the people that are pulling the strings are making us even more nervous. So, but the silver lining though is there's going to be service for bikes. You're going to have those bike shops that really cater to that. And the used market is going to be really strong for all those who could afford it within that range. So there is a bike market still. It's just not the bike market that we're used to, and everything has changed to a new norm, which everybody is getting used to, whatever that may be for them, their market, and their area. So, and as the consumer goes, hopefully, and the rider, the cyclist, which all of us are here as bike shop people, our main focus should be trying to be taking care of them. And because they're the ones that make us able to do what we love doing, which is like working on bikes or selling bikes or being part of our passion of this and selling. I mean, that's what needs to be more sold, is the selling of the cycling experience versus the $10,000 to $15,000 bike. So that's what's going to be happening. And when you have a lot of shops that have group rides, or they really cater to special events or charity rides, or the people are still going to be out there riding, like I mentioned before. They're going to need services and needs. Where is a lot of shops have disappeared. Some of the corporate shops have pulled away because they realize they can't make money in those certain areas. That's an opportunity. That doesn't mean there isn't customers there. There still are. They just need to be catered to properly, or have their current needs fulfilled. It's your basic business model, right? And we're all just kind of lost in the weeds of the new shiny things and so forth. So in 2 weeks, I'll be going to the bike show, and it'll be really interesting to see what the manufacturers kind of say and feel and vibe, and also the people who are actually going there as bike shop people, my people, and talk to them like, hey, what are you thinking? How you feeling? What's your market? Where you found successes? What's the failures in your markets? What shops have gone down or lost, or what have opened up in your market? Those kinds of things. It's going to be a nice pulse check to get me out of my four walls and see a little more of a broader perspective is going to be. It's going to be a lot of fun in that aspect. But I've already got a lot of those insights too from you guys here on YouTube that own shops or work in shops or have been in the industry going, hey, I got to say something here. This is what I'm saying, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. I appreciate it. And again, it takes you to make this channel. So thank you for being here and hanging out with me. I know these are a little bit longer and lengthy, but hey, if you're having it on the background and you're listening on the shop or what have you, that's great. Oh. Yeah, we need a version. David saying we need a new version of Shimano in America. Well, I mean, some of those companies can technically kind of try to build in America. Like look at Nissan, putting stuff together here or whatever. Car industry's been doing that for a long time. If you try the warm hug on any of these days, they wouldn't probably call it. Oh, yeah. I mean that figuratively on the warm hug, but you know what I mean. It's like you feel welcomed versus, oh, did you buy that online? I don't want to see that in my shop. I don't work on canyons. I had one guy that chimed in early on my YouTube channel that, man, he was pissed about, I do not work on canyon bikes, blah, 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 blah. I mean, some people may have enough business that they don't need to do that. They can really put their stance on it. But if you're watching, if you're still in business, let me know what your successes were then, because most likely you're not in business because you put up the stance of being not welcoming, to put it nicely. So, I mean, hey, everybody has their own opinions about things like that, but sometimes those opinions need to be shaded. My 20-year-old son mechanic was a total prick, and that person has died. I had to snuff him out a long time ago, because what it comes down to is I really like cycling, I really like working on bikes, and I really like the community, and it doesn't matter what the hell you're riding, as long as you're riding a bike, your butt's on a bike having a good time. That's all that really matters, you know. So how to accommodate and take care of those particular customers from here on out is my motto. Motto. Anyway, my juju, if you want to, if you will. But in any case, that's what I try to put into it. All right, Dan, thanks for chiming in. If I haven't said that already. Might not have the capital to build whole bikes here, but we can certainly start by making parts like cables, chains, tires, inner tubes. Yeah, that's where you can start off small componentry groups, companies. SRAM did that back in the day with grip shifts and stuff like that with Avid. So they may be looking into doing something like that too. And SRAM is based out of Colorado Springs, I think, still close to me. So if anybody from SRAM's listening to this, you know, wants to chime in or invite me down and take a tour, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to go do that. I just don't have time to do any reach outs. It's just been, I'm busy. I mean, for what I do, you know, doing service and selling used parts and all that, I'm busy. I'm okay, but I'm even better because I'm doing things like this. Because the YouTube social media outlet for me as a business model has really generated a lot of interest of what I do. And I'm developing and continuously developing my own culture here, also locals that see me on here. And like Scott earlier, you know, he's a good customer of mine. He found me on YouTube. Several other, you know, a lot of my customers have found me there, and or they've not, and they've like, oh, you do YouTube, and then they follow me on YouTube. So it's one of those things where I found a success at that, but for a lot of bike shops, it's hard lift to do. It is. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. And it's a lot of time commitment. I mean, come on. I just took 2 hours of my day just to talk to you guys, and what am I going to get for like instant return? Not a lot. I mean, this video is probably going to make like $5 if I'm lucky. That's fine, because what it really does is reaches out and builds my community. So somebody out there may bring in a tune-up. Just one tune-up will pay for my 2 hours here, you know. So that's because of my size of shop and what I do. A lot of bigger shops have a harder time to do that. Other way of leveraging that, as if you're a bike shop, you can leverage other YouTube people like Path Less Pedal, some other, you know, bike shop influencers out there that may not have a bike shop core, and then they could advertise and feature your shop without you having to do the whole lift. Even the basic interviews of the shop may help your business, saying what you do, kind of thing, that kind of deal. So it all depends. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities for shops to work on different things, but absolutely our environment is making us all think and listen and consider other things outside the box, for sure. Because quite honestly, just cranking out volume of bikes over a period of time for my state of existence, there's only so many only tune-ups and bike repairs and flips I can do in a month. There's a limitation. So where do I reach out? Social media outlets like this will help the business grow, but also help me do more. And right now it's 50-50. So if you look at the income, and the income that comes from the social media for me is definitely a huge asset for what I do. And a lot of shops can use that to leverage themselves as well. In any case, a little side note on that to wrap up what the hell we're going to do, bike shops. Yeah, you're going to see less of the corporate, less, the big boys are going to put themselves down because they're not going to see any money in it. And, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I'm busy. And people are riding bikes. And it's going to be almost 70 degrees in Fahrenheit today. So I'm going to get my butt on that bike and go for a ride myself. Any case, takes you to make this channel, so thank you for being here. Appreciate it. I will have links below in the comment or in the description below for my Amazon store and various other informational pieces. Check out Vital Bike Chains if you're looking for a wax chain. If I don't have it on my website, And my website is, if you don't know, iknowaguybicycles.com. Pretty simple, straightforward. That's how, watching videos and buying, small stuff off of my website definitely helps me. So that is definitely much appreciated. That keeps doing this and going forward. And, I love doing this. I love being a partnership with my community of cyclists as well as community here on YouTube. So that's what's really cool is the internet has made our world a little smaller and easier to reach out. So influencers like me can teach you a thing or two, either from the industry side of it or how to wax chains or check out some cool stuff, because the next thing that comes in your shop or you see something online that you were thinking about, oh, I may not have known about that, light speed bike, but I heard Justin talking about it and it's titanium and it looks like my size. You might get yourself a new gold nugget, or get into riding, or add another beautiful bike to your stable of bikes that you have for just fun for riding. I mean, case in point, some people have a couple of road bikes, and a couple of mountain bikes or whatever they're getting into. And the one customer I have is awesome. Him and his wife really got into cycling, and they're both on like their 4th or 5th bike within less than a year. Because they were in the spin classes and then they just dived into this and they just love cycling and getting out there. So, if you've been in it, you know it, right? You like, and share it. It's something that we all can be beneficial for, and it's also really good for mental capacity. Scott can tell you that for sure. He does brain stuff. I mean, he's really smart. Besides being smart, I think he has a PhD in it. And it's also really good for your physical, keeps the weight down, cardiovascular up, all those good things. Keeps us healthy, right? And keeps us out of our head. So troublesome times like this are sometimes just a little less troublesome. Any case, have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate it. Daniel, thank you for chiming in. Everybody that chimed in the chat, thank you so much. We got David, Daniel, a lot of D's, Don, Bicycle Shop, Colin, Keith, thank you. Josh from Precision Bikes, e-bike shop in Fort Collins, Colorado. Special shout out to you. Thank you so much. Scott again, just looking through the chat. Mark, Tim, if you're still listening, thank you for hanging out. Hope the bikes that you got for me are rolling smooth. Get out there and ride if it's nice in your neck of the woods. Whole bunch of Keith and Scott's in there. Dave is in there. Awesome. Love it. I'm sure you're probably still listening in. And again, I've seen a lot of you guys chime in. I recognize the names and the little logos that you have, thumbnails for your sites on my comments from the videos I listed. Duly greatly appreciate it. And last but not least, Joe O Channel, get working on those paddles. He builds paddles in the Great White North in Canada. And if you want to do some canoeing, I'm sure he's the one to, and watch some of his videos on his channel. It's a lot of fun. He has a great personality. Slow and go, and we're just going to get it done right. And he does feature some of the bike riding stuff that he does up there, which bitter cold. The one I saw, I was like, man, I think he has to have frostbite, but he has all the 45 North equipment to keep himself from dying while he's riding, so that's awesome. In any case, thank you all for hanging out with me. And again, if it's Tuesday, it's Shop Talk Tuesday. You're watching us on replay, please comment below. We'll add more insights, and if anything else you want to share, if you're part of the industry or cycling and all that, I'm sure you do have some opinions. Please comment. It is community. Thanks again, and until next time, have a wonderful day.